Yeah. Hello, good morning and welcome. It's Destination Newry. It is the morning programme. Good morning, Newry and Mourne and the planet. Whether you be in Montreal or Mayo Bridge or wherever, Moneymore perhaps, we're here. I'm Rowan Hand. I should know. Manners, Rowan, manners, man. This is Feargal McCormack. I'm Rowan Hand. How are you?
Good to join you in Studio 1 this morning,
It
Rowan.
always is good. Yeah, it's here we are with the sunlight shining upon us through the window. This is our own little oasis of pleasure and contentment, isn't it?
Well, there's no place like home.
There's no place like home.
Gives us all a sense of belonging.
Doesn't it just? You're big on the sense of belonging thing, and I think that's great because Warren Point, I laughed. You had your pantomime in Warren Point.
Yes, I unfortunately I missed it, but I heard it very good.
I was told about one of the jokes rolled out. The dame said, you've lost Narrow-Water Bridge, you've lost it, but don't worry, you've more important things to think about now. You need a bridge to Ross River.
Very good. Very good, very good.
That was an incredible thing. The swathe of the road was taken out by the sea. I suppose the surprise is it didn't happen sooner, really.
Yeah, I think to be fair, they've handled it quite well. You know,
They did.
Okay, there's traffic lights there, but I mean, at least the roads are now. You know, I think, given what has happened elsewhere, we're
very,
fortunate.
very lucky.
Yeah.
But there was some idiot responsible for traffic signage at the tennis courts in Newry, and the big notice said, Warren Point Road closed. At the tennis courts in Newry. Did you ever see such misinformation in all your life? Absolutely appalling. I have great sympathy for poor visitors and tourists and whatever else. How are you? Has it been a busy week for you?
Very busy week, and a busy week ahead. So that's the way we want it for.
Of course, because busy
As long as
is
we're not
good.
busy fools, that's the only problem.
No. Is it possible to be a busy fool? I suppose it is.
There's a lot of us at times have been busy
running
fools.
around, doing...
Yeah, and more importantly, maybe not focused, doing things we're not going to get paid for, etc.
no
You know,
good.
thankfully, hopefully we've learned the lessons. But there is no doubt about unintentionally, there can be a lot of busy fools there.
Yeah. You, like the rest of us, would have been substantially affected this week by the news from San Francisco, the boy Lambert who died.
Very sad. I see his
Colin
body.
Bell's connection.
Yeah, his body came back yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
But well, look, you know, it's not worth. You just couldn't imagine the heartbreak that Arthur Morgan, the grandfather, his wife. I mean, Colin Bell, the mother of the young lad, his father. You know, I mean. These are the type of things, if you heard them, you would never believe it could happen twice.
No.
And, you know, San Francisco, New York, you know, it's just not, it's unbelievable. And,
It is unbelievable.
It's very sad, but, you know, it's no comfort. But the community are sharing the pain. I mean, I forget where I was when I heard it originally, but it was amazing. Everybody was just totally heartbroken by it.
And the extraordinary thing is, you know, this good can come from awfulness. 15 families have had their loved ones brought back to Ireland from America since June of last year in circumstances where the loved one has died. And that has come through the Kevin Bell Repatriation Fund. 15 for
I think it's fantastic. And I think, to be fair to the Bell family and their supporters, it shows the warmth and the kindness of which the Bell family was always synonymous with. And I think that it is sad that it had to evolve from a very personal family tragedy. But I think what it does say is, you know, I think we've said before in this programme, we cannot control the events around us, but we can control how we respond. And I think that the Bell family have really shown us all what can be done when one tries to turn desperate tragedy into a positive impact for other people.
We wish them our kindest support this morning. They have it. They have it.
No words can express.
No words. Well, we'll go to business now, and the Bank of England boss. The Canadian Mark Carney, isn't that his name?
That's right, yeah.
How do I remember these
with
things?
Irish connections, go ahead.
Well, why wouldn't he? Yes, when are you bringing him over?
Give him time. Let him settle in. Maybe give him time to say less in public for a day or two.
Well, you could advise. You should ring him this morning and caution him, because he's been saying that the housing in Northern Ireland is the only area in the kingdom not recovering. To which Simon Hamilton said immediately, "Cease and desist. We are recovering. That's what our figures are showing."
Well, I mean, there is no doubt that if we get back to a broader economy, first of all, the Northern Ireland economy is recovering and is doing, in the context of Northern Ireland, starting to do well.
Yeah.
I think what the governor was referring to, and I have to admit I didn't exactly use his exact quote, but I think he was referring specifically to housing.
He was.
Now, I think if we stand back a second and put ourselves in London and the world context, he was looking at a situation where house prices in the north of Ireland, as a result of the Good Friday Agreement and the southern property boom, had risen by as much as 50, 60, 70% over a period of perhaps 7 years. There was then the collapse, and the average house price in the north fell by perhaps 45%. Now, I suspect he was putting it in the context of England and South East England and saying, well, they're nowhere near back to where they were, and to be honest with you, it doesn't look as if they're ever going to be back. So I think what we are now seeing, and it's not my area of expertise, so I'm always a wee bit reluctant to go into this one,
yeah.
But I think what you are now seeing is an increase in volume, but not necessarily an increase in price. Secondly, I think at the first-time buyer market, or the houses under about 190,000, there is a bit of activity. I think at the higher end of the market, there is still bargains, significant bargains to be got.
I was looking at some of these, and of course the southeast of England, any future prosperity or lack of it is predicated upon all of the nonsense of this awful flood damage and stuff like that. What's that going to do to the economy down there? These are people are in serious problems.
Obviously, it's not a nice experience to have your castle, as you think it, intruded upon by something you can really have little control over as an individual. And I think that long term, there is no doubt about it has an impact, because whilst the people who it is affected today most likely will go back to their houses and they'll be put in place after a long time, water's a bloody desperate thing. The reality is other people maybe thinking of moving into the area will become more conscious of it, and I think we'll choose more wisely.
I would say we wouldn't move there in the morning if we had the opportunity, for that very reason, because we're the scientist last week, the science now is, as Miliband said, that this is going to continue and it's a consequence of global warming.
Well, again, it's not my area of expertise, but certainly I do think that we're going to have to see a lot more investment in protecting our natural hinterland from weather atrocities, whether they be storms or wars or whatever. But I think that we're going to see that, and I think we're up for it. I think, again, the key to this is, we can talk in hindsight, but you can't change the past. The key will be what we've learned from it.
Yeah.
And obviously, the emphasis today is more still emergency and dealing with the crisis as it is. I think the more significant thing going forward will actually be, once it's all over, how we plan to address it and put in place corrective actions.
Talking about planning for the future, you, FPM, guided Kelly Brothers in the direction of Intertrade Ireland, and they picked up a significant prize in a linkage with Sligo University, and that was about the business of making an energy efficient house. They've done well.
Well, I think the key to that is, if you think about it, is the creativity and innovation of Kelly Brothers, because here was a company operating, a traditional company of many years of business, operating in a very traditional sector of construction 3-4 years ago, and to be upfront about it, sitting back and saying, well, look, what can we do different? What can we do innovative? What can we be creative? How can we potentially create a new market, not only for ourselves, but potentially of a product that may actually be marketable to other companies in Ireland and above or out of Ireland? So to be fair to Kelly's, Leonard Kelly and in particular Mark Kelly, the two of them together, you had experience.
They're the brothers. Mark was with me yesterday.
Mark, Mark would be Leonard's nephew. Noel and Leonard are currently the two partners surviving. When I say surviving, I'm not talking about life, I'm talking about in business here.
In business.
Surviving from the original partnership. The other three partners retired. Unfortunately, one of them has subsequently died. But you have Leonard and Noel, who also own Point Hire, and they also own the golf centre up there. Very thriving business. And basically, it's great to see the next generation coming in. Young Mark is a chartered accountant, and very, very astute young man.
Yeah,
Actually,
you've seen
I
that.
happened to... I was involved in the Invest in I Family Business Program, actually, and Mark was the case study. He came along and spoke about his experience as a family business, and it was actually enthralling to listen to somebody who he went and qualified as a chartered accountant and then eventually came into the business, and how you could see he was applying wisdom from his father and uncle, but learning the trade and equally bringing new ideas in terms of finance and innovation. So Mark, he's also, I think, the president of Warren Point.
He is. He's president this year.
But so it's a great. I mean, what that really tells you is, if you think about it, that it doesn't matter what your sector or what you do, innovate or evaporate. You know, Martin Naughton had a famous saying. I was fortunate, to sit on a board with him for 7 or 8 years, and one of it, in the course of a meeting, the meeting could never go on. Somehow, in the course of that chat, would come out the 3 words: innovate or evaporate.
Innovator. Well, he's certainly innovating, I tell you. And but the Kelly thing is interesting from another point of view. Who would ever have thought that a building firm on a mountainside in Warren Point would end up twinned with the world of academia of Sligo University?
Well, you have to appreciate part of that is because they were actually, I remember the meeting quite well. I remember asking them would they not consider it. And I then went on to facilitate the hosting of a meeting with Intertrade Ireland's agent for their program called the Fusion Program. And the agent is a fellow called Peter Grant, who has his own consultancy, Helix. And what actually happened was that particular program, Fusion, is one of the most successful aids to business on the island. And what it does, it tries to encourage a tripartite relationship, arrangement, involvement between the company, the university, or the third level institution, and the postgraduate student. So what they're really trying to achieve, if you think about it, they're trying to achieve across the island a transfer of knowledge. So what they've done is, if you're a company it's funded by Intertrade Ireland, very attractive scheme, by the way. If you're a company, say, in Northern Ireland, and the same vice versa happens if you happen to be located in the south of Ireland. But if you're a company in Northern Ireland, you're encouraged to use an academic institution in the south of Ireland. So what happened was they then took a student, postgraduate student, from Sligo or wherever it was.
Sligo.
They got
the postgraduate student from Queen's, but the interface with the university,
the college
was
in Sligo. Okay. And then what happened then was Intertrade Ireland, and there would have been a project agreed for that student at the company for 18 months probably. And then Intertrade Ireland would have funded 100% the university. And you can see then all of a sudden what's happening. In this case of Kelly's, and this young lad practically working in Warren Point, is then being encouraged within the broader evolvement of technology and innovation in Sligo. Now, it doesn't always win, but if you think about it, even if the project doesn't succeed, the experience for the company and the young person is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
So it's a culture of innovation that's important here.
You mentioned Martin Naughton just a moment ago, Glenn Dimplex founder Martin Naughton, and Women in Business NI Chief Executive Roseanne Kelly, encouraging women to think big ahead of an event in Newry and Mourne on the 4th, where Mr. Naughton will reveal the secret of his success. Wow. What would be the secret of Martin Naughton? Evaporate or innovate or evaporate?
Well, there are so many secrets. I think I'm personally friendly with Martin Naughton, and he would be, along with Dennis O'Brien, in my opinion, the 2 people I'd look up to as the biggest achievement of Irish business of all time, in two totally different areas. Martin Naughton is a truly inspirational figure. Last year
Where did he come from?
Well, I'll tell you,
in the sense of business.
Yeah, well, you have to. He started in Newry. Basically, it's important to understand Martin Naughton. It's a phenomenal story. He gave the FPM leadership talk last year in Belfast, if you remember, received very large PR at the time with Jerry Kelly.
Yes.
Martin Naughton, his father, I think, was a guard in Dundalk.
My goodness.
And he went to Southampton and then came back originally to Limerick. And from there, he decided to come back and establish a business in Newry and got assistance from Ledu in around 1971, I think. Now, Rowan, you have to put this into context. This man started his own business with a few employees in Newry. Can I tell you, he still says, with 25 plants around the world, that the happiest memories he has and the most successful workforce he ever worked with was his original workforce.
In Newry.
He still knows those people. Now, where has Martin Naughton gone? Well, think this over now. Martin Naughton has gone from developing now the largest manufacturer of electronic consumer goods in the world. He has 24 or 25 plants around the world.
Wow.
He has turnover in excess of $2 billion US. And he doesn't have a pound of debt today. And the company is owned exclusively by the Naughton family. Now, if you studied the Naughton case study, it's phenomenal. Because why it's phenomenal is you got to remember when he started off with his first business plan in Newry to make the make a heater at that time called the Glen heater. There's a very famous story. But 2 years later, he went home one night. His parents were living in Dundalk. He married Carmel, a school teacher, a lovely lady as well. Both have made very significant contributions to philanthropy, to the arts and education. But he went home to his mother, and his mother had just bought a new heater, a Dimplex heater. And he said, "Mother, why didn't you ask me? I'm making those things." And she said, "Oh, to be honest, son, we need the good one for your daddy." So he looked at the Dimplex heater. It's an amazing story. Keep with me here now.
I'm with
he looked at the Dimplex heater, and this was a small business with a world name called Dimplex.
Yes.
And he said he learned more from that conversation than he learned from most things in life. That brand was important. What he then did was, a few years later, he reversed backward from this business, Glen, which was started, and bought Dimplex, a dying brand. He did the exact same thing, whether it be with Waters radios or all. His entire career is buying brands. Yeah. He bought brands around the world. I mean, they're now, if you thought of all the brands he's operating, you'd be shocked if you heard all the brands. Now, the other thing was, he has grits. If you heard him naturally, there's no more, I don't think there's any greater ambassador for business in Ireland in the last 80 years. He's done it. But, he says, if you cannot delegate, you are a nuisance. He also shares with you a famous quote, if you ever listened to him, Sir George Bernard Shaw, that said, "The only rule is there is no rule." And if you think about that, it probably took him, he's now over 70, but it maybe took him to post 50 to appreciate that. But what he's really saying is we can have frameworks, but we must be flexible, and you've heard us say that so often here.
Absolutely.
You must be flexible to change with changing circumstances. Because in business, change, managing change is the most important thing to sustainability. But if ever, and I have to tell you, you mentioned the Kelly, the Fusion project, the driver of the entire Fusion program was Martin Naughton when he was the inaugural chairman of Intertrade Ireland.
In Newry.
And I cannot tell you how, I have been fortunate to be in this man's company on a number of occasions. I cannot tell you how inspirational he is. Absolutely. And any lady who has any aspiration to make a significant contribution to business or indeed society should make sure, if they don't mind me saying, they get their backside to Newry and attend that event on the 4th of March.
On the 4th of March, yeah.
I know we as a firm are involved, and so my colleague Teresa Campbell's involved, but what I can say to you is time spent in Martin Naughton's company is never wasted.
That's huge. That's huge. I'm almost reluctant to go on to the last piece, but since I have a thing of the Citizens Advice Bureau later, I do need to touch on it with you. £8 million worth of debt presenting every month, individual debt, small company debt, to the agency, the Northern Ireland agency there to help with debt. £8 million a month's a lot of money. Personal and small business finance, people are still finding difficulties here and there along the road.
Yes, and indeed in previous recessions, I think statistics showed that more businesses failed coming out of recession than in recession. And one of the reasons there is some businesses unfortunately overtrade. Because as they come out of the profession, they go mad after turnover, and they haven't thought out how they're going to fund it. And coming out of recession, it's more difficult to fund growth. Look, the reality here is, Rowan, any of us, God forbid, could be unlucky.
Yep.
But we talked about the busy fool earlier on, right?
Yep.
We cannot go forward without learning from the past. And now you really got to be sure that the person you're doing business with has the capability of paying you, and to pay you within reasonable time. And where in the past you would have kept working and doing business, I think the key now is to stop and maybe do less, but do the work you think you can get paid for and make a profit on. Can I come back to one other issue before we go? FPM are about to launch a very exciting initiative this weekend called the FPM Academy. And it's for high achieving young leaders of the future. We're looking for people with between 340 and 360 points in A-level this year, who would normally be going on to university and hoping to get a first class or a 2-1 degree. We're offering them the opportunity to take a 5-year contract, employment and training contract with FPM, qualify as a chartered accountant, which is a degree for life, because at that stage you can still do anything or virtually go everywhere, within 5 years. Which if they go on and get a first class honours at university, it'll still take them another 1.5 years to achieve that.
It's huge.
So this is a major investment. We're bursaries. We've met the careers teachers of the local schools, and we've been quietly encouraged. So this is one we've been researching for a considerable period of time, and we're really excited about it.
Is it one that, like Martin Naughton, has Newry written all over it? Are you embracing the Newry schools only and holding on to them?
No, what we are doing is pilot testing it in the greater Newry area.
Yeah.
So the first year will be the greater Newry area,
and then you go
the
forward.
first 2 years. But then we will go forward. We actually think we don't expect. We're not, I have to stress, this is high achievers. This is people who. I mean, we in the past have had actually 2 of the people we were placed in the exams in Ireland, which is a very unusual thing. Both came to us through this route direct from A-level.
Yeah.
One was a head girl of the high school, and the other was a girl who came first in All Ireland in A-level maths. So they both would have done exceptionally well at university. Do you get me? This is not people who, for some reason or another, are unfortunate, don't do well in their A-levels. Do you get me? There's another route for those people we can handle as well. But this particular scheme is highlighted and actually parallel to doing their accountancy qualification. We are also in partnership with the Southern Regional College. We're registering and paying for them to do a management and leadership course. So actually, these are the young leaders of tomorrow. These are the creme a la creme. People who want to go to the top. People who are committed to go to the top. But the big thing is, they can do it from here.
Yes.
They don't need to take on loans. Actually, they can even earn money as they're doing it. The only thing they have to do is work hard.
Yeah. Well, it's too late for me. I'm 70. Are you going to do something for the 70 to 80-year-olds?
Well, I think, as you would appreciate it, you've shown us with this example of Destination Newry, one is always has to be open to doing new things. It never gets boring.
Certainly doesn't.
Thank you very much.
Go well. Take care. Music, maestro, please.